So Andrew Keeler today. To be fair, I'm very, very excited. He's got very strong opinions, very, very good opinions on a lot of stuff to do with like life coaching, but it's going to be interesting because he went from kind of like the bodybuilding world and he's still, immersed in that a little bit. But from the bodybuilding world to becoming a life coach. So essentially, coaching people to go to extreme levels within the physique. And now he's all about kind of like life coaching, business coaching. So there's going to be a lot of value in what he's got to say. And, I'm excited to challenge it more than anything and kind of dive deep. Get a view of him being late, the motherfucker. So it's going to be interesting to see what his family values are. And we got a lot in common on that side of things. So yeah, I'm excited to do this. Good morning. We can hear you before we see you. Do you ever remember bollocking me about content? When I said to you, like, I just hate content.
Yeah.
And you just refused to accept that that was the issue.
Yeah.
And the things that you were saying to me stuck in my mind so much. It's like, whenever it came to not doing content, I'd think of those things and then I'd bang on with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, I had to find my way, but as soon as I found my way, it became a lot easier. And it was a lot of those conversations where kind of sparked that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues with people when it comes to content is they spend too much time looking at what other people are doing.
Yeah, that was me. Every coach, looking, flicking, what they're doing.
And they either try and emulate it, or they try and form their own content, talking shit about the other coach's content.
Yeah. And you know what though, it's so easy to get sucked into that. And I think that was why I could never find my voice, because I'll never forget what you said to me was something along the lines of, the only time you'll ever struggle mentally is when you're not true to yourself.
Yeah.
And every time I tried to do it, I wasn't being who I am. I wasn't saying the things like, I look at your content, which is one of the biggest things I want to discuss. With your content, it's like, you are just you and you don't give a fuck who you offend, what you say.
Yeah.
And I think once I found that voice and the way I want to do it, like with these podcasts, that was the turning point for me. And I actually look forward to it now because I've got something that I want to be talking about. And if people don't listen, then it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think when you get over trying to post something and then being like, oh, how quickly am I getting likes? How many views has it got?
Yeah.
And you just start posting for the people that you want to have an impact on. All of the likes and the views and everything, it just becomes a metric to measure how successful the content is for the people that actually want to view it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take very long for your audience to find you.
Yeah.
But you've got to be consistent.
Yeah.
Whereas you'll get some people that they'll post some kind of snowflakey content to try and appeal to that crowd.
Yeah.
And then they'll post something that's a bit feminist. And then they'll post something that's a bit harder. And then they'll post something that's in another, and it's just like, mate, who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you actually trying to appeal to? Because if one video appeals to a particular contingent, and then your next video appeals to another but kind of goes against the first one, you've just switched off that audience.
Yeah.
So all you're doing is walking around flicking one light switch on, and it's causing the last one that you flicked on to go off.
Yeah.
So instead of just thinking, right, who do I actually want to speak to, who do I want to help, and then just hammering that, people try to touch too many markets all at the same time, and it results in nothing.
Why do you think that is?
People want to be liked. People care way too much about being liked by people than just being themselves, and realising that the actual percentage of people that are going to like you if you're yourself is far higher than the percentage of people that you can get to like you by trying to please everybody.
Yeah. I think that's why a lot of social media causes so much issues with people.
In what respect?
Well, a lot of people, like, for example, you see people saying, I've had to take a break from social media, and it's like, a break from what?
Yeah, literally.
Like, I genuinely believe, it's almost like announcing you're back and you think, no one notices you're gone. And this
I
is
have
why
to
this is
take,
going
I
to be
have
fun,
to
you
take
know.
a break from what? Looking at your phone.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the things that I noticed with your content is you're extremely direct, like I said, and you're unapologetic for that, which is super cool. Sometimes when you read it, do you think there's a little bit more than just kind of like cut and dry? So, for example, you know, like what you just said there, I found that it took me a while to find my voice. It wasn't that I was trying to be like everybody else. I just found it difficult because I was posting, and obviously you see in the norms, so maybe subconsciously I was trying to be like everybody else, but it took me a while of doing it inconsistently and fucking up to actually then find my way.
Yeah.
And now I've found it, but also in my career as well, because I liked the bodybuilding world, but I didn't want to be a bodybuilding coach.
Yeah.
And those two things kind of was conflicting, whereas now that I know that I want to help people live life to the fullest in every angle, I know my voice and now I know what I'm speaking about. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So
Yeah.
sometimes is it just a case of people like, you're living a lie, you're not living true to yourself, or are they just figuring themselves out?
I think it depends on age.
It's a big factor.
If
Yeah,
you're
I
a
like
teenager, maybe early 20s, like 21, 22, then you might still be trying to figure yourself out.
that. Yeah.
But the very premise of figuring yourself out is a bit of it's kind of a false prophecy anyway,
Okay.
because you always evolve.
Evolved by design.
Yeah.
Like it.
So
That's Andy's business. So it's his life coaching business for anybody who doesn't know.
and that's where the name came from.
Yeah.
Because people, you know, you've got natural evolution and then you've got design. So I help people evolve into who they could be or who they should be by designing the way that they should do it.
Right.
So it's kind of putting training wheels on, putting the bumper barriers up, just so that it steers them in the right direction and expedites the process. So instead of them having to go through anything up to 5 to 10 years of turmoil, trying to fit in, trying to be accepted, trying to be who they think they should be and trying to figure out who that is, I just peel everything back and people get there a hell of a lot faster.
Right.
But when you're in your early 20s, like, yeah, a lot of people are still trying to figure out who they are. Teens, 100%. But when you're somebody in your 30s, 40s, I even work with people in the 50s who still aren't sure.
Yeah.
And it's because they've been so entrenched in trying to be liked by other people. It's like, part of it is what I refer to as the chameleon effect.
Yeah.
So we have different identities depending on the people that we're with. So like for you, you will have a different identity, maybe a slightly different persona when you're with your mum and dad than you would do when you're with your wife. Or if you were out with me and Josh,
Yeah.
you'd be different. If you were with lads that you've known since school, you'd be different.
Yeah.
When you're here and you're being professional, you're different. So you've got all of these different versions of you that you are at different times.
Yeah.
And I think the more splintered somebody becomes in that respect, the harder it is to know who they are. Because what would you do if all of these different identities that you've got, all these different people that you have a different persona with, were all of a sudden in the same place?
Like a pinball.
Yeah, which version of yourself would
Yeah.
you be?
No, it's true.
So with me, everybody gets the same me. Because the biggest flaw in that kind of methodology is the only time that a person is ever genuinely themselves is when they're alone.
Yeah.
They go home, they can take off all of the masks, the costumes, the everythings, and they adjust themselves. But that is why people feel so lonely and isolated, because the only time that the real them is present, they're on their own. So the real them is never speaks to anybody, he's never understood by anybody, he's never listened to by anybody, it's never shared with anybody. So that's why so many people are so lonely at the moment, because they're too busy trying to hide everything from anybody that they're around.
Yeah. So when you consider like what you've just said there, a lot of your content is super direct. How do you then how do you help people and guide them into that path? Because a lot of people are just going to kind of think, you've got to be really open to that kind of content, if that makes sense. Whereas a lot of people kind of want to be in the position where they can reach out, get help. but it's guiding them to know that. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. Because that's really key. When I first start working with someone, or if somebody's inquiring with me, I always say to them, I need two things from you more than anything else. I need your trust, and I need you to fully commit. Because there's a lot of people that want to change, they want to be happier, they want to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. But in order to do that, you've got to be willing to sacrifice anything of who you are now for who you want to become. Whether that's your job, whether it's friendships, whether it's a relationship, whether it's your daily routine, whether it's habitual patterns of behaviour, surrounding food, alcohol, smoking, drugs, whatever it is. You've got to be willing to just go, if I need to give that up in order to be the happiest version of me, then I'm going to.
Yeah.
A lot of people won't. A lot of people will they want to change, but they want to take loads of the baggage with them.
Yeah, cake and eat it type thing.
Literally. And it's like, that doesn't work. So
then, is that not limiting the impact that you can have on people if... Just pull that out, mate. That's what I've just had to do. I don't know what's wrong with that. Because I like to think of it as... I don't believe anybody wants to have that baggage. I don't believe anybody wants to fail. As such, I think everybody wants that next level. Yeah, so to take themselves from the bottom to the top, let's call it, or at least on that progressive ladder. So why are they failing? What is holding them back? And that's where I believe that, like, if nobody wants to fail, then how do I help them? That's where I insert myself as a coach and think, if we can create some behavior changes, you're then getting on that path. Mm-hmm. Do you jump that? Do you think, right, well, if you're here, you either come in here, or do you guide them through that path? If that makes sense? Because there's a reason why everybody fails, right? Why can't you follow the plan?
I expose people to that reason.
Right.
So instead of it being like a slowly catch your monkey kind of a situation, there's different processes and programs essentially that'll take people through that might only take a week, but it'll leapfrog them like 12 weeks in that journey.
Right.
Of understanding why they do what they do and why they are the way they are. And it's not all about trauma. People love to say, oh, the reason why somebody does that is because of trauma from when they were younger. If someone's sarcastic, it's a trauma response. It's a defense mechanism. No, it's not.
This is the side I love.
I'm just fucking hilarious, mate. That's what that is. Because people would, and I know people would do this. Some people, that type of person, would try to attribute my nature to, like a lack of connection with parents or something when I was younger. So I never felt that it was okay to feel and things like that because I'm not an emotional person.
Yeah.
Mate, I grew up in one of the fucking best families that you could hope for.
Right.
Like I was literally, I'm gonna do it this way so that I don't break my neck while I'm trying to look at you. And this is the first time I've stretched ever. So if you hear anything rip, it's probably not my shorts.
I value stretching.
But yeah, because like my mum and dad are fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
Not perfect parents, but absolutely incredible. And my mum, the empathy that I've got for my clients comes from my mum, because she's incredibly empathetic.
Yeah.
My dad isn't. My dad's the opposite.
Dad's a dad.
But my dad's like, with my dad, personal responsibility is like paramount and always has been. Like your duties, your responsibilities as a man in whatever that takes shape for your life, fucking own it. He's always been like that, and that's where that comes from me. So
yeah. So somebody once said to me, "This is what I was trying to say before."
I'm not doing that.
What I was trying to say before when I was saying about being open to things. Somebody once said to me, so when I started my journey in the fitness world, I went on a course and they said, take 100% responsibility for everything.
Yeah.
And I'm always questioning things. Yeah. And I was saying, well, how can I be responsible for everything? And the example that I gave was, one time I was on a night out and I was walking down the road and someone walked past me and just hit me, right? Literally out of nowhere, I'd never seen, spoke or whatever. And I was like, so should I take responsibility for that? And he was saying, yes. Take responsibility for absolutely everything that happens in your life. And I'm like, well, what about like traumatic times? How can I be responsible for that? And obviously the more you think about it, I thought this guy was a bit of a prick, I'll be honest with you. I was like, fuck this guy. And the more I thought about it, it's all about taking responsibility for how you act. How did you act before it? How did you act when it was going on? How did you act after it? That's the sort of shit that makes us. And genuinely now, I'm more open to the fact that, or I live my life actually by the fact that I'm responsible for absolutely everything that goes on in my world.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite heavy, and I think there's a certain level of kind of openness that you've got to have to be able to accept something like that and say, yeah. So where does that come from?
Where does it come from in what respect?
Like, so, sort of the development of it, I guess. Is it a development thing, or is like, because a lot of people will see your mindset and go, well, it's easy for you, you've got that mindset. Is that something that you've learned, nurtured, you continue to do so?
Yeah, well, it's something that I constantly work on, but at the moment, I think one of the biggest issues that we come up against as coaches is that, my knees aren't liking this. It's probably because it's the loosest they've been in about a fucking decade. Is blame culture. Everybody wants to be able to go, oh, this thing that's happened in my life, it's Steve's fault. Yeah. It's Andy's fault. It's that guy's fault. I feel like this because of something I saw on social media. I feel like this, or I look like this because of my parents, my sister, that bully at school, this person, that person. It's the government, it's the weather, it's climate change. There needs to be something to blame for everything. And it's just not true. Because all that does is perpetuate vulnerability. If you can't accept responsibility for yourself and your life as it is right now, how are you ever going to have the power to change it? Because most people that have that "it isn't my fault" mentality are always looking for and waiting for somebody that they do think is responsible to come and fix it for them. And that isn't going to work. I had a client years ago, and she used to blame her ex-husband for everything. And I mean everything. Yeah. Now, they'd separated 9 years prior to us working together. And I said to her, listen, the first 6 months, yes, because it was his fault that they separated. Because the things that he'd done. I was like, correct, his fault. I was like, the last 8.5 years have been your responsibility.
How did she take that?
Not well. But then after a little while, she was like, right, okay, well, maybe this and this were my responsibility, but it's still not my fault. I said, I didn't say it was your fault. I said, it's your responsibility. Yeah. I was like, but as soon as you get beyond that initial event, your reaction to it becomes everything. It's like, because he was never going to come back and fix it. There was no way for him to. I was like, so it was all on you. I was like, so everything that's befallen you beyond that point has been on you because you didn't react and control yourself, your emotions, your thoughts, your behaviours in the way that you could have. And she got it. Yeah. And like that, her life started coming together again. And she couldn't believe it. But it was like, you've just lost 8.5 years. Yeah. Maybe even more. And I know that because I've been through it, as you know. It's just over 9 years since I separated from my wife. Yeah. My ex-wife, Sam. So, and I left, and immediately with my mentality, I was just like, right, I'm responsible for everything from now. And that's including when she ran up debt in my name, credit cards, phone bills, all sorts of shit. I had to deal with all that.
So did you just kind of click your fingers and that mindset was there? Because that's one of the things that I wanted to kind of dive into. For someone who helps so many people, is it always just cut and dry in your mind, or is there things that you struggle with in that sense?
No.
There's nothing?
No.
I love that. I genuinely do, because, you know, in my mind I thought everybody's got to have struggles, but then I think, do they?
I have struggles, but I don't feel about them.
Okay.
Like, people have got this misconception that if you feel something, it's valid. You know, people like to validate people's emotions. Yeah. Like, you're not validating how I feel. It's because it's fucking irrelevant, mate. There's so many times somebody will feel something about a situation, an event, something that they're going through in life, and the way that you feel about it is irrelevant. Facts don't care about feelings. It's like, yeah, you might be sad about it, but the responsibility that you've got to fix it for yourself, for your kids, for your family, for your future, that's still there. And every day that you put it off because you want to feel sad about it, or you want to whatever, you want to just lament and drag yourself over the broken glass of your past over and over and over again to every person that you meet. All that's doing is delaying your ability to start living life again and start actually feeling happy again. Because one thing that I do know is that people spend so long in that mental state, they forget what happiness is. Because the amount of people that come to me and I say, what is it that you want? And I just want to be happy again. I'm like, all right, cool. What does that mean? And they can't answer.
Yeah, it's the same, yeah.
They're like, no, I just want to be happy. I'm like, right, but what does that look like? And they'll start giving really quite arbitrary happiness models.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, for you. What does happiness mean to you? And they don't know. Same thing with people that want to find purpose and they don't understand purpose. Because people think happiness is this like singular orb that once you've found it, that's it, you've got it, you can keep it.
Yeah.
But happiness evolves as you evolve. Like, things that used to make me happy when I was 20 don't make me happy now. And if they did, I'd be living life wrong.
Yeah.
Because that would mean I'm 17 years down the line and I haven't changed psychologically at all. Purpose is the same. You can find purpose in a myriad of different things in your life. Happiness is found in the same thing. Like, you find happiness in the way that you look. You find happiness with your wife as well. You find happiness in your kids. You find happiness in the car that you drive, the house that you've got, the ability to provide those things for your family. You know, in friendships, in pursuits that you've got. You know, so podcasts, social media, helping people. You find happiness and purpose in that. So if one of those things was removed, you wouldn't all of a sudden be absolutely morose and void of happiness. You might be slightly less happy because, say, like, your car got wrote off or something.
Yeah.
You'd be pissed off, but you can still go home to your wife and kids.
Yeah.
Yeah? So, but people think about happiness as this fragile Fabergé egg that exists in life, and if one thing goes wrong, that's it, it's fucked.
Yeah.
Because people put everything into their relationship.
I always say that. It's like life's like you've got multiple baskets and multiple eggs and everybody ignores all of them and just puts their eggs into all one.
Yeah.
That's like, this is why I say if you're in incredible shape and you're unhappy, it's possible to be in amazing shape and be unhappy.
Yeah.
Because all your eggs are literally in that. That becomes your identity, and anything outside of that, you've now got a fear of losing.
Yeah. And that is what everything comes down to, identity.
But we're in an
Everything
identity
boils
crisis, right? Because of, well, you'll be able to know more than me, but this is one of the things I feel like everybody has to own some sort of identity and be part of some sort of like culture or club or this or that, whether it's being a vegan, fucking transgender now, all of these different things. So, we've grown up in a time where we knew what it was like before social media.
Yeah.
And then obviously now social media, you've got people growing up now. So if you're, 16 to 21, you've probably not really seen where you've been like consciously aware. You've probably not seen a time without it. So then, what does that mean for these people now? Because everything is about identity. We're blessed, right? Because we know what it's like to go out and socialize without phones.
Yeah.
And not being able to be attached to like working all the time and things
But
like that.
that's it. It's the same thing. Identity, it's layered through every different layer of, like, our personalities as people, we're like onions. There's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. Like I was talking about before, the chameleon effect. If you remove the fact that you try to be someone with each of those groups of people, all of those groups of people are part of your personality, part of your identity. Because you're a son, you're a husband, you're a dad, you're a brother, you're an uncle, you're a friend, you're a colleague, you're all of these different things to all these different people, and all that becomes part of our identity. But as complex as it is in that respect, people these days want to just don a cap and go, I'm a vegan, and they just mold, the whole life becomes moulded around it. First time you put a fucking Just Stop Oil fucking t-shirt on, all of a sudden you're mixing red fucking orange paint in your fucking bathtub. Because people just got, that's who I need to be. But the problem is, and I've seen this myself, you'll get someone that doesn't have an identity because they've not taken any time to just understand themselves, and they'll follow trends. So when being vegan was like really, really hot, they were vegan. Now it's kind of like, nobody gives a shit, mate. Right, you're a vegan, get over it.
Yeah.
But now it's about other things. Trans community at the moment is probably the biggest thing, and the Alphabet Club. I don't even know what it's fucking called anymore. It's got two S or something at the start of it now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Two Spirit.
Oh, right, okay.
Fucking lampshade or something. So that right now is the hot topic. So there'll be people that have been in the vegan camp, and then they've been in another one, and then it's climate change. Now it's the trans community, and it's about being an ally and supporting everything. But the problem is that every different movement that happens does nothing but cause further segregation.
So it's doing the opposite of what they're actually saying.
It doesn't unify anybody.
Yeah.
It causes cult-like behaviour, so it brings a grouping of people together, but then something else will get interjected through the media that will then splinter that group. So you've got everybody as a whole, and then let's say you split it with politics, and people go bang, so you've got two separate groups.
Yeah.
And then you've got BLM. That was a perfect one for segregating people, separating people into groups, because it's the polarisation and the extreme. It's like, if you don't agree with this, you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
So everybody that's got any kind of mentality that's got the ability to see grey,
yeah,
and they're like, it's not that black and white. Everybody that saw grey got ejected, and then you had black and white. So everybody that was a whole has just become three factions. And then there'll be something else. It'll be like all of the grey community, they don't all see the same way when it comes to the trans community. So that splintered people because they had the same thing. If you're not 100% an ally, you're a transphobe, you're a this, you're that, you're the other. And then feminism's doing the same thing. If you don't fully agree with everything that a feminist said, you're a misogynist, you hate women, you're anti-women. So everybody's just getting splintered into smaller and smaller and smaller groups.
Do you do a lot of stuff, say for example with nutrition, with training? Do you change people's...
I don't do anything with that.
You don't?
Nothing
so do you believe that obviously like when we're putting these foods into ourselves, so for example, usually when mental health is at a low point, people are more susceptible to addictive things, right? So more Netflix, more drinking, vaping, eating shit foods, wanting to, have high sugar diets, things like that. Can you change the mind while they're still polluting themselves?
Yeah, because it's those things that cause the emotion, not the other way around.
Right, okay.
So like psychology, when like the Psychology 101 teaches you that your emotions dictate your actions, that's not true. It's the other way around. And I found that to be the opposite over the last 9 years that I've been life coaching.
It's really interesting.
Because there's a process that I take people through called action associations. So every action that you do and every action that you don't do, you have an association with the type of person that does that. So his example, I always use this, is what type of person gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning so that they can go to the gym before they go to work? If you had to give 3 different adjectives, what type of person gets up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym before work?
Disciplined, committed, driven.
Right. If somebody stays in bed until 11 a.m. every single day, what sort of person does that?
The smart answer would be it would depend. So it depends on when their day starts. But typically you would go with kind of lazy, unmotivated, ill-disciplined.
Yeah. So that is just like a really simple example of what I do. Because when you commit that action, you assume that identity whilst you're committing the action. So if somebody consistently, what I do is I get people to break down their whole day, and I mean like in 15-minute blocks of everything that they've done. So how long they spent sleeping, how long they spent watching TV, death scrolling, yada, 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 and then create associations for all the different things that they've done. I've had people come to me that are like seriously depressed, and 90 to 95% of all of their daily actions are negative.
Yeah.
They've all got negative associations of loser, a failure, no purpose, unsuccessful, unmotivated, undriven, no ambition, the whole day. It's like, right, you're spending the whole day doing things that's what you think of yourself when you're doing it. And then I had a client a while back called Joelle. So she used to get up 10:30, 11 o'clock every day.
Yeah.
Even on days that she knew she needed to be up before. So I was like, right, okay, what are your associations? She gave me like 11. She was like, fucking loser, no hope, no life, like, and I was just like, right, sweet. I was like, somebody that gets up at 5 a.m, she was like successful, driven, motivated, ambitious, they've got purpose, they've got drive, they've got going on. I was just like, right, I said, there is going to be a trigger point in between 5 a.m. and 11 a.m. that once you cross it, you go from being able to associate yourself as being successful, driven, etc. And like that, all of a sudden you're a loser. I was like, we need to find what that time is. And it was 7:45. And I said to her, if you get up before 7:45 every morning, regardless of whether you've got somewhere to get up and go to or not, and make your bed, you will feel better about yourself. And genuinely, she was minimum 50% better just from that. And that was all we changed. We changed one of the most dominant actions that it held on to her identity for hours after she got out of bed. Whereas when she actually got up and she felt good for being up early, it motivated different actions.
Yeah.
So the action controlled the emotion didn't control the action. It wasn't like I'm depressed so I stay in bed. It's like you're depressed because you're staying in bed.
Yeah.
And then we systematically worked through, because I explained to people, I described them as like a Jenga tower. So like you buy a new Jenga tower, every block is the same colour. And that's not how people are now. Loads of blocks are different colours, and a lot of them don't belong. So I remove those blocks and replace them with ones that are the right colour that the person's chosen. Like the easiest articulation is, I'm like an optician to the mind. You know when you go to the optician, they put that big fucking device on your head, and then they start putting different lenses in to try and find what your prescription is. Everybody's prescription has been given to them throughout life. So your first lenses are given to you by your parents, by your siblings, by school. So it depends on the type of teacher that you've got. By your school friends, and then it's colleagues, and then it's social media, TV, etc. So you've got people that have got all these different lenses, and the prescription's completely wrong. They're viewing life, viewing themselves, perceiving their emotions and other people in the way that all of these people over the course of their life have told them, this is how you should view people. This is how life is. This is what your political affiliation should be. This is what's right. This is what's wrong. This is how you feel about yourself because of this reason. I remove all of those lenses and start putting the right ones in that they choose. I'm putting a lens in, challenging their behaviours, their beliefs, and then seeing how they respond to it, getting them to tell me whether I can see better, I can see worse. Yeah. And then by the time that we get to the end of it, they can actually see life in the way that they want to see it, that they've chosen. And as each additional lens goes in, based off the work that we do, their level of responsibility and power that they feel in their life just goes up and up and up and up and up. Because that's it, responsibility is power.
100%
you know yourself. The more responsibility you accept for everything in your life, all it does is give you the power to control those things.
Yeah. No, it does, you're right. There's a big part of it, like, it's taking action and living towards the stuff that you want in your life, but like you said, without clarity on what that is, you're never going to get anywhere. Do you do big goal setting or not?
Sometimes, but it's not necessary. It doesn't need to be this huge, profound thing to get people to actually start doing the right things for themselves. Yeah. And it's like people say, oh, you need to love yourself first. And yes, there's an element of that, and you will eventually get to that point, but that can't be the first point. Because genuinely accepting and loving yourself for who you are, it's fucking difficult to get there if you spent your whole life trying to find something else. You know, that's like somebody coming to you and being very overweight because they spent the whole life sedentary, eating whatever they've wanted and not doing anything of physical value. And then you going, right, okay, you need to get shredded. That's the first thing we're going to focus on. Yeah. It's too many, what I refer to as horizons away. You know, when you first start a journey, you stood on the beach and you're looking out at that first horizon. Doesn't matter whether it's in business, finances, relationship, personal development, doesn't matter what it is. You're stood at the sand and you can only see that initial horizon. That needs to be the first goal. First goal is get in the boat and start rowing. Yeah. And as you get to that first horizon, you can then see the second. But if you're trying to aim for a horizon that is 15 horizons away, you've no perception of how far that is. Yeah. You've no perception of how long it's actually going to take, what it's going to require from you, what resources to take with you. So it's just like, let's aim for the first one.
Yeah. That's where the growth comes as well every time you hit one, right? Right, are you down for this? 100 calories.
Try it.
100 calories, fast as we can. Bodybuilder does cardio, let's see.
Out of shape bodybuilder does cardio.
So we'll do 10 each, yeah?
Yeah, if I start struggling, you do 15, I'll do 5.
I've been carried the last few weeks by the people doing it. So
Oh, don't worry, you're going to be the elite athlete this time.
It's gonna make me look good.
Yeah, 100%.
But there's a lot to be said for doing shit that you're not good at, right?
Yeah, definitely. How do I know where the calorie setter is?
To the wingspan.
Were you already done when you did it with this, yeah?
Pace is making me nervous. $257 is the best. No, $247. Good work, buddy. Let's go. Good work, man. Let's go. Good finish.
Yeah, these last two are going to be difficult.
That's it. Come on, big push. Come on, big finish. Nice.
Ooh.
It's tough, isn't it?
Mate, I've not done anything that even comes close to cardio for fucking ages. The priority is just focusing on health a little bit more, making a little bit extra time to make sure I've got time to do cardio and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because at the moment I don't make time for it. I get my steps in, take more for a walk and stuff like that with Beth, but other than that, it's not really anything that's dedicated.
Yeah.
The rest of my time is just spent working, all with Beth and the kids. I don't focus on my own personal development from the aspect of reading books, shit like that. I was doing that back in 2010.
Yeah.
That's when my personal development journey started. and it gets to a point where you're reading books for the sake of being able to say that you've read them.
Yeah.
And it just starts to lose meaning. I know loads of people. Name a development book. Yeah, I've read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good book that. Why is the rest of fucking shit? Or
Knowledge without application.
yeah.
No, it's true, man. People, again, though, that's the thing. Like, I think I wanted to ask you about is, I feel like everybody does something now with the agenda of everyone's going to see me do this. It's not for themselves. You said the other day in one of your posts, it was about you go somewhere. It was the expo, and you're just present.
Yeah.
I don't ever think, let me get the camera out.
Yeah.
I need to Instagram this.
Yeah.
And I think this is fucking people up, man, because it's distorting what your standard of living is. Everything now, you know, if you won an award in your town, you were the fastest. You got all the accolades for it now. Put that time on social media. There's 100,000 people that have probably smashed that time.
Yeah.
So it's watering down what we're actually achieving, and it's creating issues. And now I just don't think many people live their lives for themselves. It's like for everybody else.
Yeah.
Why do we do that?
I don't know. Well, everybody's got this bias that like they're a main character. It's like you're only the main character in your story. Nobody else is. People don't care that much.
Nobody gives a fuck. I always say to people, in the most respectful way, you obviously got people that love you. Nobody gives a fuck.
Literally, it's like when people say, oh, I'm scared about going to the gym because of what people think. I'm like, listen, 95% of the people that you see, when you see them looking over at you and you're thinking, oh, what's he thinking about me? Why is he looking at me? What's he said about me? They're thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
You're literally echoing each other's thoughts.
Yeah. Well, they say insecurity is a reflection of your own thoughts, right?
Yeah.
You did the post on that as well, that somebody can't make me feel something unless I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel great in this t-shirt. You tell me, look, I couldn't, don't bother me.
Yeah.
Because I feel good. Whereas if I was unsure and you looked at me, I'd be like, wow, why is he looking at me like that?
Yeah.
It's all up here, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the way out of that?
Well, like I said the other day.
We'll start off with two of them. There's loads of 15s, so we'll just put 15s on.
Like I said the other day on my story, the more self-aware you are, the harder it is to be insecure.
Yeah.
Because you can only be insecure about things that you're unsure of. So like, first time you sleep with someone, you might be secure with your body, but you might be overbearingly insecure about how they're going to feel about your body, or what you're packing, or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas when you genuinely are at the point where you're just like, nah, I'm good. I'm good with me and how I look. Doesn't matter who's laying on that bed, you're not going to feel any different.
Yeah.
Same things coming into the gym, going on a holiday, whether it's in business.
That's an unbeatable feeling as well, right?
Yeah.
And that's why. So why, here's a better way to frame it. How do you get people out of that mindset of, one, documenting everything they do? Is that an insecurity, do you think? Because they need everyone to see the best of what they're doing.
I think one of the strangest things about that is the fact that when you document everything, it removes you from the situation that you're actually supposed to be taking part in. So if you're at a meal with people and you're spending all your time on social media or taking pictures and video of it, you're not engaging with the people.
No.
It's like you're trying to document your life for the people that are going to watch it. Because I just went and spent 5 days in Marbella. And it was a business trip, so I was around entrepreneurs for the entire weekend, speaking with them, you know, swapping stories, ideas. And I've got a handful of pictures.
Yeah.
And every single one of them is scenery. Every single one of them is out to sea or the setting where we were, when we were outside. And I took them at the end before I left.
Yeah. Or take them, put them in your pocket, and then leave it and upload it later. It's like, you know, I've had this with my wife, and she'll take pictures all the time.
How many reps?
We'll do 10 on these.
Oh, my knees don't like this.
Go higher up. Keep going higher. So she'll take pictures all the time. And it used to annoy me, but then when I see all the albums we've got, the kids from like 0 to 3, 3 to 6 months, etc. I'm like, these are incredible. But then what we did was take them, put it in your pocket, don't upload it there and then.
Yeah.
Then you're more present, because it's good to capture the memories. But I just, you know, you see people who are obsessed with...
You say 10?
10. Let me know how your knees get on, mate.
And I think an important part of being a content creator is understanding that it's not up to you to decide what people want to consume.
Very true. They either consume it because they like it or they don't.
Yeah.
Why did you go from a bodybuilding coach to a life coach?
When I came back to fitness industry full time in 2014, I integrated it in because I started my own personal development journey in 2010 because I needed to.
What was that? Why?
I needed to get hold of myself. My emotional regulation wasn't good enough.
Your what, sorry?
Emotional regulation. My ability to feel and process emotions in the moment in real time.
Right. How did you recognise that? Was it an event?
Two events that were very close together that could have ended up being really bad and like heavily negatively affecting my life. And it was after the second one I was deciding I need to get my fucking shit together. So that's when I started, and then when I came back to being a fitness coach full time, because I'd always done it even when I was a financial advisor. Came back to it full time, and I kind of integrated it into my service. So from 2014 to 2018, it was part of my service, but I wasn't charging for it because I was just like, I'm not good enough to charge for it yet. And then from 2018, I had it as an actual service that I charged for, separate. Yeah. And then come 2022, start of 2022, I just didn't care about the fitness side of things anymore.
Yeah.
So I was like, too many people that come, I'll do anything, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do the other. And then they were starting and they weren't doing any of it.
Yeah.
And I just didn't care anymore. So I just came over to life coaching full time. And it's the best thing I ever did.
Bigger impact.
Yeah, because it's like one of my clients from last year. Stopped working together right at the start of this year because we'd done 6 months, and that was everything that she'd needed. She lost 3.5 stone, and I didn't talk to her about diet or training or anything. As everything else in her life started to turn the way that we wanted it to, and her identity was the identity that she'd chosen for herself, she no longer identified with looking the way that she looked.
She wanted to make a change. That's coaching, isn't it? That's coaching for me. It's like a lot of people, like I always think of it as you're driving with the handbrake on, and then when something comes in your life where there's a turning point, it's like taking that handbrake off, sets you free, and then you can achieve whatever you want.
Yeah.
But if you're polluted up here, the physical is never going to follow because you don't believe in what you're doing.
Yeah. If
you say to yourself, I'm going to go to the gym today, and you're like, what's the point? You're a fat cunt or you're unfit. Like you coming here today, I bodybuild, what's the point in doing these sessions? You're not going to go in and try your hardest, are you?
Yeah.
And it's changing that mindset, and I think it's so powerful. That's why I went away from, don't get me wrong, I still do it through fitness and nutrition because I'm passionate about health. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
Why I never went on gear, it's why I chose the path that I did, and why even as a bodybuilder, I wasn't a bodybuilder. I just loved the gym and eating right, and then dieting was something I just did for 12 weeks of the year.
Yeah.
I was never a bodybuilder, I was a fraud in that sense. So then when I started doing it, I was like, do you know what? I want more people to feel this because, yes, I have issues and insecurities, this, that, and the other that I work on. But my energy from the minute I wake up is up here, and it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
If anything, and normally I'll be in the car like trying to micro nap in traffic, and I'll be fucked, and I don't get that anymore. And I'm like, I want to scream this feeling from the rooftops and help people, and I want people to get out of their own heads because, I see people with incredible lives, mate, like from a Instagrammable point of view, and they're so unhappy.
Mate.
They're no happiness whatsoever from their relationships when they're on their own. They're not getting gratification from things anymore that other people are like, I need that. And you can have it all, man. You really can.
It's like that. Even relationships become about.
Sorry, one sec.
Walked away from me. That was rude.
Go on, relationships.
I'm saying relationships. When people Instagram everything, it becomes about, it's for everybody else. Everybody else wants to know what we're doing, where we're going. You know, like Beth and myself, I've never been in a relationship anywhere near as good as the relationship I'm in now. Nowhere near as happy in a relationship. And we don't really post about each other hardly at all.
You don't need
because
to, right?
it's for us. It's our relationship. You know, if other people ask, it's just like, if it was your business, you'd know. You wouldn't need to ask.
And also, like, you know, if you're truly happy, you don't need to spend time trying to show it. It just comes out. I don't need to look at your Instagram to know you're successful. I just need to have a conversation with you. Success doesn't mean money, does it? It's like, it's rich in thought, rich in health, rich in relationships. Because, you know, you don't spout any negative shit. You always want to pick people up. We've not spoken, it would have been a year or something, maybe.
Yeah.
And you did this podcast like that because it would help me.
Yeah.
You didn't say, no, sorry, mate, Sundays are my day off. You were just like, yeah, let's get here. And that screams, I think. Whereas when people are actually putting things on and it's like, you know, product placement, showing like labels, and I'm like, I just want to be sick.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds horrendous, but I also want to reach out and just be like, mate, help yourself here. Do you agree with that, or is there an element of it where people are like, you know what, people can do it and be happy?
Yeah, I was just about to say that because everybody's different.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Because it's like you just said then, I don't spout anything negative, but there's a lot of people that will see bits of my content and they perceive negativity from it, but it's because of their perception. It's the lens that they're viewing me through that makes them feel that way. It's not the way that I'm delivering it, it's the way that they're receiving it, which is one of the reasons why I always say I'm not responsible for the way that people feel. So I'm only responsible for what I say, not the way that people receive it. I'm going to drop that down to 3.
Yeah, mate, even things like that though, like in the gym, like it is a growth thing, isn't it? But dropping weights down when people are putting them up, my ego would never have allowed that.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I just don't give a shit about
See, with me, I remember I spoke about this to somebody not long ago, and he said to me, how old do you think you were when you became self-aware? As in, like, aware of who you are, what you want, etc. And realistically, I was about 14.
Really?
So it was while I was in school, because I remember being in school and I was kind of looking around and it's just like, why do I care? Because in another 2 years, half of the people that are around me right now I'll probably never see again.
Yeah.
If we go to different colleges, I'll probably never see them. If they move away when they go to uni, they might start their new life. And so I was just like, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
And of the people that I went to school with, I see none of them.
Yeah, I see one.
None of, like, I bumped into my friend Nicola last night in the car park at Sainsbury's. But prior to that, it was bumping into a lad called Chris Ty that I went to school with, again in Sainsbury's. But that's all it ever is. There is no deep connection.
Do you know one thing I always tell myself, and like, you know, you get deep in your mind, but I believe, you know, internal dialogue is everything. How you talk to yourself, like what you said about your client before, right? If every day your first thought is, I feel like shit, the actions are going to proceed, aren't they? So
yeah.
I look at it, so I always think of it as 2 machines in your head. And when you wake up, you're going to choose which one turns on. So you've got this negative one that's going to fuel the rest of your brain, and this positive one, and you wake up and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm late. You know, I'm up late again, I've not been to the gym, I've missed it. You're getting this negative routine going. So then this other one, this happy one and this good thoughts and a productive one turns off.
Yeah.
So all day then it's fucking negative. And I always think to myself, like, sometimes you wake up and you do have a few negative thoughts, but then my routine and my actions then will start to help me pre-program that.
Yeah.
But the majority of the time when I wake up, if I have a bad night's sleep to the kids, I'm like, I don't lie in bed thinking, I'm going to be so tired, workout's going to be shit, I'm going to have no energy. I think to myself, fuck this, I'm going to attack the day no matter what.
Yeah.
And then what you're saying now about, like, you know, not letting other people dictate what you do, like people like friends at school, things like that. I actually always say to myself, say I'm going to get a video out and I feel a bit daft. I think, am I going to allow this person unknowingly to take food off my kid's table? There is no way
exactly
on
the
earth.
same
You can
way
look
I've
at me and
always
think,
thought.
you are a cunt, and then I go, son, what do you want? Eden, what do you want? And I can give them what they want.
Yeah.
And that overrides anything for me. Because like you just said then, 50 people in here, and I even work here, they might think I'm a wanker, but I don't give a shit because I'm living life by the standard I want to live it by.
Yeah.
And I think that's what needs to change into people, you know.
Easy reps. Easy.
One off, yeah. Take your time though.
Yeah, we're going to say, don't worry, I'm not going to Formula One pit for it. Give you a bit of rest.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh. Oh. Oh.
Come on, Steve.
Ah. Shit.
Light work this, mate.
Oh. 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 Do you think the fitness world's toxic for stuff like that?
For what?
People, everyone's a life coach.
Oh yeah, there's so many people
Because
that
they're in shape.
preach what they think life coaching is.
Yeah.
And they think it's just a couple of quotes and, you know, being understanding and being positive.
When they're on screen.
Yeah.
Whether they're living that life.
Yeah, but it's this belief that, because I've had it said to me, in fact, yesterday on TikTok, somebody posted a comment and said, I like your content, but if I was you, I'd delete this video because I feel like it's negative and it doesn't put you in a good light. I just replied and I said, if you were me, you wouldn't delete it. I was like, which is why I'm not going to. Because, and I've had people reply to stories before, oh, some life coach, question mark, what do you mean? It's like, you're negative, you were being negative. I was just like, where does it say anywhere that a life coach has to be perpetually toxically positive?
Yeah.
I was like, that isn't what life coaching is. I was like, because life isn't positive all the time.
More negative,
life has negatives and you need to be able to view them. Because if you don't, you lose perspective, and then what are you going to fucking do when life gets hard?
That is the thing, isn't it? Everybody wants the fluffy positive. But then, like you said, when you're on your own and you can't pay your bills or your health's on its arse, and you know, where's the resilience to stop fucking watching Netflix and crack on?
Yeah.
I say it all the time, get up at 4:30, 7 p.m, the kids go to bed, I've not stopped. Go straight into the office.
Yeah.
I'd fucking love to watch Netflix. In fact, no, it's a lie. I wouldn't, because then I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, and no one has any idea of the context of where I am. I might be a millionaire, I might be a fucking, you know, living month to month.
Yeah.
But I'm so fucking happy in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, and that shit drives me to get into the office. And that's why, you know, I was gonna ask you, like, your posts are ruthless. Why are you so ruthless in a world where everybody is catering to everybody's feelings and instead of being honest?
Because I'm catering to the rest of people's lives, not the way they feel right now.
Great answer.
I remember when I was on my arse, I was broke and I was in debt. None of which I created myself, but I was in debt. And I remember one night picking the kids up. So Penelope will have been 1 at the time. Penelope will have been 1. Xavier will have... My left knee ain't fucking feeling good. I'm gonna stop.
Mate, leave
My Penelope was 1, Xavier was 3, Gabriel was 7. And I picked him up, took him to Asda, pulled into the parent and child space, and my fuel light came on. I was like, I don't fucking need that right now. I had to sit in the car in the end parent and child space that was closest to Asda, waiting for Asda Wi-Fi to pick up on my phone, because I couldn't afford to pay my bills, so my phone had been shut off. Waiting for Wi-Fi to kick in. It took about 10 minutes for a signal to be strong enough for me to be able to access my online banking. And when I finally logged in, I was £148 over my overdraft. So I couldn't get any money. I had no credit card. So I checked my wallet, took my wallet at the centre console, had £12 in it, and that was all the money I had in the world. So I went into Asda with the kids, spent all of that £12 on as much food as I could get for them for over the weekend. I actually ate some protein over the weekend, some whey, because that was all I had.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was leaving Asda, I was holding Xavier's hand, and Gabriel, my eldest, was holding Penelope's hand. And I remember looking at them just thinking, they don't deserve to live like this.
Yeah.
They didn't know, and at no point have my kids ever known that Daddy doesn't have any money. I've never said I can't afford it, it's too expensive, or any of that shit, because I refuse at any point to ever inject that kind of poverty mindset in the kids.
That's what it is.
Where, oh, it's scarcity, we don't have enough money, it costs too much, blah, 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 blah. All that bullshit, I fucking hate it. And it was that was it. That's as low as my point got to. And I dragged myself out of that. And I wasn't constantly looking for handouts, I wasn't looking for other people to try to help me and stuff like that. Yeah. In fact, my parents helped me at different points, which I'm massively appreciative for. But as far as probably the single worst event was my buzzer, my intercom going at 20 to 6 in the morning, picking up the intercom. I was just like, what? And it was fucking bailiffs. I was like, the fuck are you doing here at this time? And they were like,
expecting you till 9.
No, it's illegal for them to show up at somebody's property
really?
At that time. So I was just like, the fuck are you doing showing up at this time? And they were like, oh, we can show up whenever. I was just like, no, you can't. Like, I was a financial advisor up until 12 months ago. I was just like, I know 100% that that's not true. And they were like, well, you either pay what's outstanding or we're just going to clamp your car. And I said, right. I said, I'll just come downstairs and stop you. And they were like, oh, go on then. So I came down, and as soon as I got to the door, there were 2 of them, but they both completely backed down. And one of them kind of like stepped back, and the other one, the boss, actually spoke to me. And I was just like, to be honest, I can't be arsed getting into anything. I just want to fucking fix it. And I was just like, who can I actually turn to at this time in the morning that I know is going to be awake?
Yeah.
So I messaged Scott Francis. I was like, you up, mate? Immediately he was like, yeah, what's up? And I explained the situation, and he just went, send me your bank details. Sent me the bank details, and he was like,
gives me goosebumps, that shit.
He was like, how much do you need? I was like, 500 quid. And he sent me 700. I was like, the fuck have you sent me 700 for? He was like, because you've got kids and you need it more than I do. I was like, I'll get it back to you as soon as I possibly can. He was like, you're not paying me that money back. He was like, I don't fucking need it, you do.
Big respect.
And he was like, do not give me that money back. He said, you and the kids need it way more than I do. So, like, support in that respect came from very, very few people. But from the mental aspect, I literally coached myself through it. But my resilience to stress now, I can go through things that other people are like, how are you so calm? And I'm just like, because in comparison to feeling like that, unless you've genuinely felt what it feels like daily to feel like you're failing your kids, you don't know what stress is. Like, I genuinely just, it doesn't matter what comes my way now, I'm just like Teflon, it just fucking rolls off me. It doesn't faze me.
So you see that situation. So you said to me before there was two occasions where it could have gone very, very wrong if you would have gone down that path.
Yeah.
Is that one of them?
No.
So that's 3 scenarios that I've picked up on. Do you feel like, so essentially that was your rock bottom, right?
Yeah.
So you've hit rock bottom, and then your why is looking at your 3 children. What do you say to people that have not hit rock bottom, or people that have not hit rock bottom and don't have children? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
I just give them perspective.
So, but we're talking about perspective from the point of view that they've already come to you and said, "Hi Andy, I need your help." I'm talking about these people that are so fucking, they're so far in their own head. They'll look at your content and think this guy's a cunt because he doesn't understand my situation. And no matter what you're saying, people can't necessarily hear it. There's a difference between what is it I always say? You might hear me, but are you fucking listening?
Yeah.
You know. So, I think I've always said this. I think a gift that I've had is I watch everybody else suffer, and I learn from that. So, for example, like my upbringing in terms of love was incredible. Yeah. In terms of it wasn't a bad upbringing in the sense that we weren't poor, but my mum worked 3 jobs.
Right.
My dad grafted, out in the morning, home at night. And I learned so fucking much from that. And I remember like my mum, like a vivid memory of mine, my mum would say, stop thanking me for it. She'd buy me a pair of trainers.
Yeah.
Mate, I'd say thank you 15 times, I'd give her 15 hugs. Because I was so fucking grateful.
Yeah.
And it was like, whilst we still had food and I had clothes, I had everything I wanted. Which ironically was just a pair of football boots and fucking football. But what I'm saying is, how do you speak to someone who thinks like that? Is that rock bottom, but you don't have kids to look up at and look to and go, do you know what, kids, you deserve more than this?
It might be rock bottom in their eyes, but I can guarantee it isn't rock bottom. I had I know you said like people that haven't come to me for help, but I had a client years back, and he was entitled as fuck, is the easiest way I can phrase it.
In what sense?
He believed he deserved the world and believed that everything that was happening to him here wasn't his fault and was unfair.
Yeah.
Now, of the different mentalities that people can have, entitlement and deservingness is one of the things that I loathe in a person.
Yeah.
And he was woe is me all the fucking time. And I was just like, you believe your life's that fucking bad? I was like, what did you do this morning when you got up? He was like, what do you mean? I said, where did you wake up? He was like, in bed. I said, what kind of bed? He was like, a bed. I was like, double bed, super king, a hammock, what? He was just like, double bed. I said, is it comfy? He was like, yeah. I said, what do you lay on? I was like, you got bed sheets on it? Yeah. I said, are they clean? Yeah. Are they dry? He was like, yeah. I said, have you got a duvet? He was like, yeah. I said, is it wafer thin? I said, or is it like nice and plush? And he was just like, yeah, it's really thick. It's winter at this point. This will have been 2016. I was like, right, okay. I said, and what about your pillow? Is that comfortable? He was like, yeah. I said, and when you get out of bed, I said, what are you standing on? He was like, the floor. I said, he's standing on floorboards. He was like, no, carpet. I said, so is it comfortable to be stood on? He was like, yeah. I said, and then you go to the toilet? He was like, yeah. I was like, have a shower? He was like, yeah. I said, wash your hair, shower gels, all that shit. He was like, yeah. I said, brush your teeth? He was like, yeah. And I was just like, and then you get dressed. I said, have you got one thing to wear? I said, or do you have a wardrobe full of things that you open and then you struggle to pick what it is that you want to wear? He was like, well, yeah. I said, and when you go downstairs, what do you do before you leave the house? I said, do you have breakfast? He was like, yeah. I said, so you've got food? He's like, yeah. I said, do you keep it in the fridge, the cupboards, or what? He was like, it depends what I'm having. I said, right. I said, so you've got such a selection of food that you've got it in the fridge, it's in the freezer, it's in the cupboards, it's all over the place. Yeah, I said, and do you cook it? Microwave, kettle, gas? I said, oven. Is it like, yeah? I said, so you've got all of those different means of cooking all those different types of foods that you've got? He's like, yeah. I was like, right, cool. I said, and then what do you do after that? I said, do you go to work? I was like, yeah. I said, how do you get there? He's like, in my car. I said, what car have you got? And he just got a new car. I was like, all right, okay. I said, so you've got a brand new car? He's like, yeah. And he was like, I know what you're doing. I was just like, good. I just carried on. And he tried to stop me about 4 times, and I just carried on. And I dragged him through his whole day systematically, bit by bit by bit by bit, every single fucking thing that he did, everything that he ate, everywhere he went, everything. And I was like, right, I said, so that's your day. I said, and you think...
No. Shit, sorry, I didn't put that away, did I? Oh, okay.
We've left the weights on. Shit bags.
Bad guy. Hit 15, yeah?
So, I dragged him through his whole day, and I went, right. I said, and your life's hard? He's like, yeah. I went, do me a favour. It's like, you live in Middlesbrough, don't you? He's like, yeah. I said, a lot of homeless there. It's like, yeah. I went, go outside, get in your brand new car, I said, and drive around until you find a homeless guy. I went, sit down next to him and tell him how fucking hard your life is. And he was just like, I went, what? Do you not want to? He's like, no, why not? I said, it's because your life is infinitely better than his and more privileged. He was like, really fucking uncomfortable. But I was just making a point to him. I said, every single thing that I've just listed, the bed, the sheets, the pillow, the carpet, your wardrobe, every item of clothing, your shower, your toilet, the fact that you've got running water, the fact that you can brush your teeth, you've got a selection of shower gels. Every single one of those things is something to be grateful for. I said, and at the moment, it's not that your life's horrible. I said, you're just fucking ungrateful. And we flipped that, and he started to feel different because he also wasn't grateful for the fact that his parents were still alive and healthy. He wasn't conscious of his siblings. He wasn't conscious of the fact that he's got nieces and nephews and the fact that they're all healthy as well, or his friends, or his job, the money that he earns from it, the stability that he's got in his life. Because he was so entrenched in, woe is me, my life's so hard, nobody understands, that he wasn't paying attention to the laundry list of things that actually prove the opposite is true. And I had to, in a really blunt and essentially forceful manner, make him aware of his own bullshit.
Do you think that though, so I get that, we can look at that in one or two ways. He's got a better life than the homeless guy. The homeless guy's got a better life and more opportunity than someone in a third world country.
Okay, but the third world country isn't here.
Well, the homelessness is not in his house.
Eh?
The homelessness is not here, is it? It's not in his house.
Yeah, but that's genuinely irrelevant, because I was using it to articulate the point that he believes his life is so bad.
Yeah.
And it's not that his life is bad, it was the perception of his life that was shit. It was the fact that he was being ungrateful, which is why he felt like he had nothing. Of all of the things that he had, he wasn't grateful for any of them.
Do you not think that stems from the fact that these arbitrary things like don't matter if you're lonely or you've not got gratitude, I guess? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like what we just said. Are you more happy if... So say that guy was in an even bigger house. Does that mean that that he's got even less to be? He can't be negative because he's even in an even bigger house.
No, but my point is that in the life that he had right now, he was completely ungrateful for almost everything that was in it.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Like,
because it's not a sliding scale of the bigger and nicer the car, the house, the bigger your girlfriend's tits are, etc., the happier you're going to be. Because like I was saying earlier, happiness exists in lots of different areas of your life. But if you actually have happiness in all of these different areas, but you're completely ungrateful and dismissive of it, you're not going to experience any of the happiness. It's like having a fridge full of food, but you're complaining that you're hungry because you're not willing to prepare any of it.
Yeah.
You know, if the only thing that you want is something that is immediate all the time, fine, eat beans for the rest of your life. Because you can just open a can and crack at it.
Yeah.
But if you want the best of food, if you want the nicest recipes, if you want the most fulfilling food that you can eat, learn how to fucking cook. Learn patience, learn skills. Actually take the time to understand what you need to understand and able to have the best of whatever it is. So in a relationship, just because you have a partner doesn't mean that you're going to be in a happy relationship, because you yourself might be a shit partner.
Yeah.
You know, if you're an awful communicator and an awful listener, your partner's not going to have a good time with you. So just because you are in a situation doesn't mean that is it. So it's not, oh, he's got a nice house, so we should be happy.
Yeah.
Appreciate what you've got. It's not the having that is the key element. It's the appreciation for what you have that is the key element. It's like me. I can't go above 315s on there right now because my knee's bad. Right? And if I wanted to be like, oh, hardcore bodybuilder, it's the only fucking thing I've got going in my life, I could be super depressed about that. Ooh. But I'm not, because I can walk around with you and I've no pain in my knee. I can go up and down stairs and I've no pain in my knee. So if I can never go above 315s again on that hack squat, I don't give a shit. I'm still happy because I've got a fully functioning, fully able body. Might be restrictions and limitations, but it's not enough to make me sad. It's not enough to remove any of my appreciation or gratitude for the body that I've got.
Yeah.
Everything's a flex. People's journey, the issues that people have got, the traumas that they've been through, people list them as if it's achievements.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
I think sometimes people actually wish that they had something like that to have a story so more people would have.
Why do you think everybody self-diagnoses these days?
Yeah.
You know, every year, one or two new things become the thing, the trend. Towards the back end of last year, I remember saying to Beth, I went, just you watch. I said neurodivergence, I said, is going to be one of the new things for 2023.
What's neurodivergence?
If you've got ADHD, autism, Asperger's, like genetically gifted, like intellect, stuff like that. That all falls within the same confine of neurodivergence.
Everybody is now trying to come up with a reason why they're not where they want to be, or why certain things are happening. So, for example, it's like, right, if I can't focus and I'm not where I want to be in business, you see this ADHD test and you go, that's me, fucking hell. Now I know why I'm not where I want to be. And it's like, well, here's an idea. Change your fucking diet, change your mindset, start listening to some positive shit, start training, cut around like negative conversations, do those things. And when you've done that for 6 months, let's see your focus fucking increases.
Yeah.
Because what it does is I think it devalues people who actually have these issues. Yeah. Because now it's just like, yep, there you go, mate, you wear this sticker, you wear this one. So then now I'll hear it, people are like, yeah, I've got ADHD in me. I'm like, fuck you now.
Yeah. Everybody's got ADHD, and then they just use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
Somebody goes and gets diagnosed with depression or anxiety or PTSD or anything else, it becomes the excuse that they hang the hat on every time they want to abdicate responsibility.
I have a client, and I was speaking to him the other day, and he was like, yeah, he's like, this specialist says he's got ADHD. I said, fucking hell, mate, if you've got ADHD, I want it. because he lives life to the highest of standard. He's time rich, he's got a beautiful family, he can travel whenever he wants. And I'm like, honestly, if that is ADHD, then send it my way.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe what it is, you're not within a set societal model, and because you think differently and you don't want to go and do those 9-to-5 jobs, this, that, and the other, maybe it's just like, yeah, there you go, there's a sticker, you go and wear that.
Yeah.
And I think absolutely not. Like, what?
It boils back down to identity. They're given the badge and then they wear it, and it becomes their entire identity. They talk about it all the time, make people aware of it all the time.
That's the thing, isn't it? You can't go, like, in fact, I'm going to say this direct to the camera, but if you're having conversations repeatedly and you're saying things to people that are holding you back and you're repeating the same conversations, fucking listen to yourself and stop with that shit. Because what the fuck is it adding to your life? You can sit and talk all day about why you're broke or why you're not where you want to be. Just ask yourself the question, this conversation, where is it taking me? Because I don't give a fuck. Nobody around you gives a shit. The only person that's got to deal with the consequences is yourself, right?
Yeah.
And that's why, like, sometimes I think I'll say something, I'm like, do you know what? I'm not even going to fucking bring that into the universe. Why do you need to sit and listen to a certain thing that's going on in my life? That's just, like, if it can help me, yes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's another thing I want to dive into. Like, you did a post, and I'm not going to lie, I was laughing the entire way through it, but it was this whole, these Instagram pages, like the body positivity.
Pop psychology.
Yeah, there you go. So, for anyone who doesn't know that, it's like quotes or, you are beautiful, this, that, and the other, and this positive affirmation.
You are good enough. You've always been good enough. It's not true.
So, explain, because I loved it.
Yeah, so...
Why do people go to it?
Because it validates them. So we need to put more weights on for the big lad. Yeah, it's just because it validates people. It's that bias of, I am good enough. You've always been good enough. You're never the problem. It's always the other person, whether it's been a relationship, whether it's a job or anything else. The reason why it broke down or why it didn't work, it's never you. You are never the problem. You don't need to improve. You don't need to change. You don't need to take ownership or responsibility for anything that's happened because you're good enough the way that you are. And it's just not true. There's been loads of situations in my life where I wasn't good enough. If I wanted to charge people what I do now for life coaching, when I first started, I couldn't because I wasn't good enough. And it's literally as simple as that. I wasn't good enough. I couldn't have got the results for people back then that I do now because I was not good enough. Like the way that I am with my Beth. I couldn't be the partner that I am now 9-10 years ago. Yeah. Because every experience that I've had between 27 and 37 has helped mold me into who I am now. Back then, I wasn't as good a person as I am now. I'm all right with that. Like, that's one of the reasons why I evolve so fast, so consistently.
If you were as well, then there's an issue, right?
What do you mean?
If you're the same now, if you're the same now as you were at 27, that means there's been no growth.
Exactly. And if you're having experiences and you're not growing through them, then you're not experiencing them. They're just happening around you. Which is one of the reasons why people that document everything for social media and they don't actually engage in their life in a real way, they can go 5 years with absolutely no growth because they've been watching their own life in their own stories. They've not been living it, they're not experiencing it. It's almost like people are viewing their own lives in third person.
Well, you see it, don't you? People will take a video. I'll never forget watching a woman. And she was taking a video at a water park and we had the best time ever. It was incredible. You want to skip it?
Yeah.
So I remember...
old man knees.
This woman, she was videoing, and then she uploaded a video. She's with her kids. Mummy, 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 mummy. And then I was stood behind her and I could see over her shoulder. And she was looking at who had seen the video she put on.
Oh my God.
And I was thinking to myself, I was like, fucking hell, put your fucking phone down. I don't judge people's way of parenting, but put your phone down.
I do.
And look at your fucking children.
I judge how people parent. I don't give a shit. Like, one thing that people love to do is everybody's.
Maybe I don't air it. I judge them, but I keep it in
everybody's so fucking virtuous these days. Everybody's so fucking sickeningly virtuous. I don't judge anybody. It's human nature. Yes, you fucking do.
Yeah.
If you don't,
Valid.
You're so vulnerable in your life if you don't judge people.
So yeah, so I look at it and I almost feel, it depends on the mood I'm in, I guess, but I almost feel very grateful that I have got what I've got, even though I've earned it. I know I have, and I know no one's give it to me.
Yeah.
And I've been, you know, in the house where I had a sofa and a TV and £20 a week to take my missus out on, and you know, I've been in that situation before. I've been at, you know, gone through traumas and stuff, but I still feel very grateful. And then sometimes I think what you think, step up, man, come on, like fucking drive for more.
Yeah.
But do you not think that society makes it more difficult? So this is where your ruthlessness and empathy, do you, let me finish before you answer, but do you empathize in the sense of, do you know what? So for example, your guy there who's got the house, the bed sheets, this, that, and the other, everything he's consuming, which is his fault, by the way.
Yeah.
So consumer responsibility, but he's consuming this information all the time. Yeah, because I know it, right? I bought my house, my dream home, never thought I'd live in it. Yeah. And then I'll drive to my client's house and his house is double the size, double the price. And then I've got another client whose car's worth what his house worth, and his house is this big. And then you go on social media and it's like, this guy's 25 and just bought a Ferrari. And so people are consuming this all the time. So at what point do you say, right, do you know what? The system is hard. It's a fucking hard system to get through. And without the right people in my life, I wouldn't have pursued my house now. I would have just given in. And that's fact. That was only a year ago.
Yeah.
And I've got a good mindset, but I would have given in. Because it got hard and it got fucking uncomfortable. And I'm like, shit, this money, this tax, that tax. What if my mortgage goes to 6%? So then where do you get the most out of people? Because it sounds to some people who don't know you like I will, you've got no empathy and you're all like, just fucking do this or fuck off.
No, the thing with me, I've got massive amounts of empathy and zero sympathy.
Okay, so explain the two. In
So-
that context?
I've got the empathy that I've got is the reason why I care so much about actually fixing my clients' problems.
Yeah.
And it drives me to find as many possible solutions to the problems that they're experiencing. So one of the things that I can do better than most is view a situation from a multitude of different angles. We've not got any weight on this side.
That's how I like it.
That's my side. Yeah, so because I can view things from as many different angles as possible, it means that if one approach doesn't work, I've got another one that might, and if that doesn't, then there's another one that might, and we will eventually find the solution. But I don't sympathise with adults. I will feel sympathy for animals and kids, and that's it. Because as soon as you get to a certain age, you're fucking responsible for yourself. Your life, my life, everybody that's watching, their life, if you're an adult, is a culmination of all of the decisions that you've made accumulative over the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years.
But is that not what you've been taught? So, for example, I was never taught about money. Okay. I was taught get a stable job. Incredible parents, stable job, stable income. I spent 50 grand on an education, masters, teacher training, 13 weeks holiday, shit wage, overworked, underpaid. I saw how the system is failing kids on a daily and weekly basis.
Yep.
And then one of the things that changed my life was Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah, so it made me think differently about money. But if I hadn't come across that, I probably would have been this guy that I earn 2 grand a month, I'll spend 2 grand a month. I earn 3, I'll spend 3, 4. So what I'm trying to say is, you just said you've got empathy for children, yeah? But that child, if they're brought up by these fucking parents, where's the transition where you go, right, empathy, now it's all your fault?
Because at what point does a person become responsible for themselves?
That's almost what I'm asking. So I guess it's hard, isn't it? Because you're responsible for yourself, but you're only responsible for yourself with the values and the lessons that you've been taught.
Yeah, so when you're an adult though,
you
can teach yourself what you fucking want.
If you're aware.
You can, so make yourself fucking aware.
How?
I'm not being funny. If somebody's watching this on a phone, an iPad, a laptop or a TV, you've got access to every bit of information that you've accessed, that I've accessed, that everybody that I've just spent a weekend in Marbella with has access to.
Yeah.
And one of the guys that I was talking to over the weekend in Marbella earns 10 million a month. Ridiculous fucking money, right? And when I was talking to him, he was telling me about people that he's been around that earn that in a day.
Yeah.
Right? So my point is that the information is available. But if somebody wants to maintain a victim mentality, a woe is me, it's not my fault, and abdicate responsibility for where they are in their life when they're in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, there's nothing you can do for those people. And I don't try to make content for those people. I make content for the people that are going, you know what, I want a better life. Doesn't matter where I was raised, I want a better fucking life. Because if it's society's fault, if it's the government's fault, if it's schools, people love to go, why don't schools teach us about tax? I'm not being funny, but you learn about English and maths from being 4 years old to being 18, and people still can't fucking count. Go into a normal fucking shop at any given time, or walk up to someone and go, it's 11 times 12. And they'd go, most people would have a stroke trying to figure that out. And that is remedial math, and they've been exposed to that their entire life. So you could expose the majority of people to taxation, all of the different things that people say that they should be taught by schools that would be beneficial, and it wouldn't make a scrap of difference. Yeah. Because that's the mentality that I hate, because it perpetuates it. People believe it's the state's responsibility to teach me what I need to know to have a good life. Wrong. It's not. It's your responsibility to see your life the way that it is and go, I'm not happy, what do I need to learn to change it? It's what I did, it's what you did, it's what Josh did. Everybody that you and I know that are successful have all taken a huge period of their time where they've taught themselves things, or they've taken the impetus to pay for courses, to go to seminars, to expose themselves to people, to have a mentor in whatever it is that they want to be amazing at. Do that. And people go, I can't afford that. Save money then. Because if you can smoke, you can drink, or anything else like that, then utilise the resources that you've got available. Because there's a lot that you can learn for free through the internet. A lot.
Yeah.
But people don't want to. And that's the crux of it. There's an awful lot of people that could be in a better position, and they're not, because they don't want to do the work. They want somebody else, like I was talking about before with that client, they want somebody else to come along and make it easy for them and just go, oh, there you go. This is what you need to do. This is how you do it. Oh, I've done that for you. No, mate. It doesn't work like that.
I did the same thing, mate. And this is one of the things that I was trying to get out as well. Like when I worked with mentors in the past, mate, I paid a lot of money to them. And I probably did 50% of what they said. Yeah. And then I was like, mentoring shit. Fucking this guy's a bellend. I would never say, don't go and see this person, because that's not how I work. But in my mind, I tarnished all mentors. Yeah. And when I actually took 100% responsibility for it, yes, I got results out of what I put in. But isn't it funny how the other half, where I didn't put it in, I didn't get the result. And it was like, it took me quite a lot. And then I had a conversation with my wife, and I said, I'm getting another mentor. And she was like, well, you said the last one was shit. And I was like, no, I was shit. Yeah. It was my fault. Yeah. Because I didn't do what I needed to. And then I got another mentorship, and then I got what I wanted out of that. And it is mindset, but it just interests me that, so I understand exactly what you're saying, and I know this from your content. It's like, you're not speaking to the people that are going to call you a wanker. You're speaking to the people that go, do you know what, this guy might be able to help me and consume it. Exactly. But like what you just said about your guy before, when you said he'd read all these self-help books, and like, you know, people just read it to be able to say, yeah, I've read it. If they're interested in that sort of stuff, and they're starting to kind of go down the path that, say, we went, where it was like, right, I know I want more, and I'm consuming content to get there, what's then the difference, do you think, between consuming that content but then actually applying it? Because I say to people all the time, say, oh, you know, do you do diet plans? I'm like, mate, I'll send you a diet plan. I don't care, because you're not going to do anything with it. Yeah. The blueprints are out there. Yeah. You go online, you sell a nutrition plan. That's why I've never done it. I've never sold programs. I'll give you that for free. Yeah. Because if you come in with the best program in the world, where you've got a wet attitude and a shit mindset, you're getting nowhere from it. Yeah. And I have this thing with clients where I have done every single program I've ever programmed. Because if a client says to me, when I say, how was that? And they say, it was all right. I'm like, you need a fucking reality check, and you need to start training harder. Yeah. Because I buried myself in that program, and I know exactly how it fucking feels. Yeah. So what's the difference? Like, how do you develop from, I want to change, to actually putting the actions in? If somebody actually wants to change, they will. It's the impetus that is there. People like the idea, but people that say, I want to, but then don't, what they actually want is the reward. They don't want the journey. Yeah. They don't want to have to do the daily. They just want what comes at the end of it. They want it, and they want it now. Like when you get people where they're dieting, and they always want to, they either want to eat the cake and have it too. That'd have been a really easy set. Okay. They either want to eat the cake and have it too, because they want to be able to carry on eating the way that they were, and essentially living life the way they were, but still get the results. Or they want to try and push it harder and harder and harder to the point that it becomes completely unsustainable, and then they fall off. But most people just want it. They don't want the journey that leads you to it. Because
I think this is something that not enough people fully understand. If you don't go through the journey, you don't learn what you need to maintain what you get. If somebody just gives you a reward, and we've seen it with the lottery, you take someone that's taken no time to teach themselves about financial management, debt management, or anything in any respect, and give them 5 million quid, I can guarantee if you went up to somebody that has got a poverty mentality, and give them 5 million quid and go and check on him in a couple of years, they'll be pissed broke again.
I had a client whose best friend manages, so he is the wealth manager for the lottery. So he works with a lot of people that have won the lottery. And I can't remember the statistics, I'd butcher it, but it was well over 75% of people lose that wealth.
Yeah.
Obviously you've got people that win like 100 million or whatever, but because as you just said, and this is the reason why I put the lottery on, and people think I'm daft, right? Sorry, why I don't put the lottery on. I couldn't think of anything worse.
Yeah.
Than, like, you know, yes, would a little injection to put into my business work? Yeah. But could you imagine everything that you're striving for overnight is solved?
Yeah.
Where the fuck are you gonna get dopamine? Where are you gonna get that growth from?
If I won millions and millions on the lottery, I'd take a little bit out of it for myself and the family, and the rest of it, I'd just dump it all into my businesses.
Just create a bigger impact.
Mate, massive.
People who put the lottery on, and I watched my dad do this. My dad put 20 quid a week on, and my dad used to get very upset when he didn't win. So if he didn't win the lottery, he'd be unhappy. Because it was almost like an escape, and I took that, and I was like, I want to earn every fucking thing I have. Yeah. And this is why I say to people come to me and they say, this is my goal, right? And it's fitness orientated, and that obviously always then will uplift their business and their lifestyle and their relationships, because, you know, they're starting to keep promises to themselves, they're progressing, they're feeling good, they're fueling the body right. And every single time they achieve a goal, the next goal comes. Because the goal is nothing, it's Horizons. The fucking progression. Do you know, as you said that, as I said that then, the horizons made 10 times more sense. Yeah. But you're always going to want to move forward because you don't care about the goal, you care about the growth, and that's what becomes addictive. Yeah. And I think, what were you trying to grow if you get life given to you? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And honestly, hand on my heart, and people say, oh, you're full of shit, if you win it, you'd be buzzing. I'm like, well, I'd fucking put it on, wouldn't I? If I really wanted to win a lottery, I'd put it on. Yeah. I genuinely would never want to. Yeah. And I even know people, mate. I've got a guy on the podcast in a few weeks, and he's retired at 33, 34, made enough money for the rest of his life. Nothing matters to him now. And even he, right, he's earned it from, it's an incredible journey, I can't wait to talk about it. But even he's at the point where he still wants more. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. No, there's not, but it's not monetary. It's not monetary. Yeah. He's addicted to growing up, to getting something from a seed and growing it. Exactly. And doing it and going through the stress. Because as I'll discuss on it, it's not been one smooth thing for him. And it's just fascinating, isn't it? We're always trying to chase this, and where has it come from? Is it social media? But we're always trying to chase this end product. Yeah, but people always want blame culture. It's society, it's social media, it's the government. But whenever you say, oh, it's society, me and you were part of that society. So we have an inherent responsibility in everything that goes on. Everything that the government does, we as a society allow them to do. Yeah. You know, the media, everything that the media portrays that you see and absorb and accept as truth, you've chosen to absorb and accept as truth. Which is why right from the start of COVID and stuff like that, I was just like, I don't believe a single fucking thing about this. Not one, yeah. Absolute bullshit. Should we go into that? But you know what, like... You kept me sane during that, you know. To carry on the wealth thing, one thing that I love about wealth is how widely misunderstood it is. Because people automatically conflate wealth with greed. It's like, oh, if you're wealthy, if you're rich, you're greedy, you're selfish, you're self-centered, blah, blah, blah. There's nobody more self-centered than someone that's poor. Anytime I speak to someone that says, I've got all the money I need, I don't need any more than I've got, I'm like, oh, good for you, you fucking selfish cunt. Because, like Scott, his friend came to him in need, like that, he made that horrible situation for me just disappear in 2 minutes. Yeah. Couple of taps on his phone, bing, there you go, mate, sorted. And it meant that I could go and do a proper shot, fill the fridge for once. If, say something happened with you, and you came to me in a couple of months, or you went to Josh, and you were like, mate, I'm fucked.
Like, I can't pay the mortgage, and if it goes on for another couple of months, we're going to end up getting fucking kicked out. I know that I could go, what do you need? And you go, I need $5,000, and I could go, there you go, and transfer it to you. And I wouldn't be like, will you be able to get it back to me next month? So, yes, I might have more than I need, but it's now put me in a position where I can help you out, I can help other friends out. My mum's got a condition in her eyes, and there's a new medication that's going to become apparently it's going to become available, that's going to like make the condition that she's got essentially stop progressing altogether, because the ones that she has at the moment, she has to have injections in her eyes. Helps loads, slows it down, but this new one, apparently it's like fucking wonder drug, and it kind of fucking shuts it down. But she'd need a series of injections. She'd end up needing 6 in each eye, and it's $1,500 each, and they've got to be 3 months apart. I was just like, right, cool, when it becomes available, I'll pay for it.
Yeah.
If I wasn't a greedy, selfish, wealthy guy, I'd be like, all right, mum, let's hope you don't go blind.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So, like, for me, which is the more selfish side? Making sure that you've got what you need, or making sure that what you and your family need is covered, but also being in a position to help other people? Because as soon as the male support network starts to generate more and more money, I'm literally just going to put all of it back into it and start doing day events for the lads. So we can all get together and go paintballing or go anywhere.
Yeah.
But it's going to be things that we're going to do. We'll go to like car shows and all this other shit. Proper toxic masculinity shit. But that's, as the money comes in, I'm not thinking, fucking hell, look at all this money coming in. Hey,
get a bigger
put it in my
car,
pockets.
bigger house, bigger this.
And I will do, but that's because I've got 3 different things that are bringing money in at the moment. So I'll take a bit from that, a bit from that, and a bit from that. That's for me and the family. Everything else gets put back into the business, so I don't pay tax. So I can grow everything faster. Because to me, it just doesn't make sense to be like, right, so I've got the purpose of the male support network is to support male mental health by men for men, right? And removing all of the feminist rhetoric from it, making people actually understand that the whole toxic masculinity thing is nothing but that. It's just an extension of feminism. It's just trying to denature men being men.
Yeah, it's like almost toxic femininity, right? Like,
yeah, it is. Because you look at everything that is attributed to toxic masculinity: aggression, high sex drive, sexual desire and preferences, competitiveness, disagreeableness. They are all inherent masculine traits of men. And they're all toxic masculinity, and they're all the things that young lads and young men are being told right now, no, you're not allowed to feel those things. Not allowed to be aggressive, not allowed to be sexually aggressive or competitive, like wanting money and cars and wealth, bad. That's all toxic masculinity. You're supposed to be emotional and a fucking melt, basically. And men aren't supposed to be emotional. And I'm not saying shut your emotions down. Stoicism isn't about having no emotion. Stoicism is about emotional regulation. Being able to feel an emotion, process it, and then react to it in a way that you choose to, instead of feeling an emotion and exploding. Because men don't need to cry. We need solutions. Our brains are solution orientated. All the psychology that we're seeing at the moment that's being peddled towards men, 95% of it is actually what should be aimed at women, and they're just trying to segue it towards men. And it doesn't work.
Isn't it interesting that the more we're trying to create solutions and all these kind of, outlets for people to talk and to do this and to do that, shit's getting worse. Because they're actively going against what is our nature, isn't it?
Remember what I was saying before about segregation?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. Whereas my biggest thing is like, I'm not, I'm so fucking busy in my lane, moving towards where I'm going and helping people and doing what's right for me. I'm not paying attention to any shit. I don't even know what's going on unless someone brings it to me.
Yeah.
But isn't that crazy where, I'm not struggling with my mental health. I'm growing as a business. I'm growing as a person. My family are happy.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, it's like we're geared to think that, right, if we talk and talk and talk and talk, then, if you're talking all the time, you're now moaning. You're not creating a solution. You're not working towards something. And I think if you just go from one situation where I say to you, mate, look, I'm having a fucking problem with my business. Like, I'm struggling with money, blah, blah, blah. You go, right, okay, cool, mate. Here's what we're going to do. We go and do it. And I fuck off and don't do it. there's then a problem.
Yeah.
You're like, look, mate, you've said this. I give you the solution. Go and fucking do it. So there is. So how does your forgive me, what it's called again? The business that you just said.
Male support network.
The male support network. How does that differ from other things where it's just talking?
Well, I have a weekly group call with all the lads, so we all get on Zoom at the same time. And I'll either have a specific topic that I will bring up and I'll kind of deliver for 15, 20 minutes, and then we'll talk about that and the way that it impacts each of us, or has, or is, or might do in the future, so that we can just kind of get it's a mixture of lived experience, current experience, and perceived experience, what they think it's going to be like when they're going through it, like having kids and stuff like that. And there's a lot of the things like, one of the most important things that I do with a lot of people, and this is both clients through Evolved by Design, Male Support Network, and Limitless, is I take them through what I call the child-adult paradox. Because, we're talking about age of responsibility, when you become responsible for yourself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of adults that are in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s, and they're not responsible for themselves yet. They do adult things, but they do it in a childish manner. Like, when you were a kid, and the first time your mum and dad let you go to the shop on your own, and you're like, fucking big man stinks, stepping out, going to do big man things. And you feel like an adult, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Or the first time you sit at the table when all the adults are drinking and you're sat there as well, and you're like, I'm fucking grown up me now. And like, you covet that feeling, don't you?
Yeah.
The problem is that people spend part of the childhood doing that, and then when they actually transition into actual adulthood and the reality of those responsibilities hits them in the face, they then do it in reverse. So they don't actually mature into being an adult. Yes, they might do adult things like drink and smoke and take drugs, but they do it in a childish manner. They don't do it with any kind of reserve or control.
Yeah, it makes
so
sense.
If they drink, I can't just have one. What do you mean you can't just have one? Are you an adult with a drink, or are you a child with a bag of sweets? And it's like, I've got to get absolutely wasted. Or it'll be smoking, and they'll smoke way too much. Or it'll be any kind of drug, and they go overboard with it. And it's consistent, or it's food, and they go overboard with it. So you've got adults that are childish by nature. And as I make people aware of that fact, and I get them to list what they believe attributes of children, they start to break it down, and they're like, right, so maybe end up with a list of 12 things that they believe define a child. Irresponsible, like they need guidance, they need authority, they need to be told what to do, that sort of thing. Emotional, highly reactive, inconsistent. And I'm like, right, do the same thing for an adult. What do you believe the attributes are that are the distinction, the definition of an adult? And it would be like responsible, timely, well-mannered, etc. and blah, 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 and they'll create the list. And then I'll get them to go down the list and tick the attributes that they feel they represent. And the amount of people that can tick way more on the child list than on the adult list is astronomical.
Do they know it's the child list?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I get them to actively do it.
Yeah.
They create the list from their own attributes. I don't say to them, right, these 12 things are what children are like, these are what adults are like. Yeah. I get them to do it themselves, because then I'm not telling them anything. They're telling me. And I've had people go down and they've had a list of 12 and they've ticked 11 things on the childish list and they've ticked 2 on the adult list. And I'm like, right, cool. So you pay bills, which you think is an adult thing to do. Do you always do it on time? I'm like, no. All right. So you do an adult thing, but you do it childishly because you're irresponsible.
Yeah.
Because you either don't manage your finances correctly, or you just don't care enough. But you're not actually living up to that adult expectation, because you're not doing it as an adult should do it. And they're like, oh fuck. So even though they've got 2 things on the adult list, they do both of them in a childish manner. And then as we start to change it, it's like, from now on, let's make sure that every bill is paid either slightly ahead of time or bang on time. As soon as they do, the level of responsibility that they feel in their life and control and power from that starts to change the way they feel about themselves. And as you systematically break these things down, people's mental health crisis just all of a sudden goes off a fucking cliff.
Yeah.
Because there's so much stress that people experience that actually denatures their mental health, and it's entirely done by themselves. The majority of it is self-imposed.
I always think as well, have you got a leg press in you?
Huh?
Have you got a leg press in you? Or your knee's about done?
Yeah, my left knee's not.
Right, we can leave it there then. So I always think, right, you know, if you're at the bottom of a pit, or you know your perception is that, you know, things aren't going your way and you're low and things, you know, you feel like your life's shit.
Yeah.
I think people feel like they stood at the bottom of Everest with no equipment, and where they want to be is at the top. It's daunting, right? Like if you're down there, do you think it's, you know, is it as big a task? So you're talking to someone now, someone who's listening is thinking, God, I need to make change. Do you think it's as far away as people perceive? Because I think as soon as you start to get the wheels in motion, things start to change like that, right? Because the reason I'm asking is because what you just said to me then sounds like once you become aware of actually where you're at, you're then starting to, you explained it then, mental health goes off a cliff and you start to feel better, and then all of a sudden you want to start training, eating better, doing things, nurturing relationships. You know, is it as big of a climb as what people think?
No.
Do you understand where I'm coming from? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people are like, yeah, I really want to
everything.
change, but my whole life's been this, and it's like, it's not a whole life to get where you want to be. It's a fucking step.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's a mix of the two. It's not a single step, and it can be difficult at different points along the way. But the fact that it's difficult doesn't mean anything. It's literally irrelevant. Like people go, oh, it's easier said than done. I'm like, what? So?
What does that offer?
What isn't easier to say than do? You know, like the fact that it might be difficult doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that it's any less valid or worthy of your time and your effort. But what people want to do, people think about where they are and their perception of where they want to be is the top of Everest. And it's not the fact that they have to climb to get there, it's the fact that they want to be there now.
Helicopter.
Like that.
You're that guy, I wrote this down in my notes, but you're the guy that everybody needs to talk to, but you know you don't want to, because you're going to tell, if I say something to you, I know you're going to tell me what I don't want to hear, but I need to hear.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to do. If I raise an issue with you, you are going to call me out on it, and I'm going to be like, fucking cunt, I knew he was going to say that. And I needed to hear it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I do think that, like, it's this, like with the podcast, like, it is a level of entitlement that people just think, well, I've done this and it didn't work, so, you know. And then that validates them going forward then. That validates their excuses, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I fucking tried it, didn't I? I've tried everything. It's like, Tony Robbins said it. You've not tried everything until you fucking got there.
Yeah.
You try 1,000 times and then you crack it. Now you've tried everything because you fucking got there.
So this is something that...
Can I have a swig of that, mate?
Yeah, of course you can. This is a really important principle. When somebody sets a goal for themselves, the level, it's one of my favourite words, this, the level of specificity has got to be as high as possible. Because, you say one of your clients, they'll tell themselves, I'm going to go to the gym after work. But that's it. That's how specific they are.
That's so open.
I'm going to go to the gym.
Yeah.
They pull up in the car park, I've gone to the gym. Right, sweet. They come in, they bumble around for a little bit, they don't really do anything, they don't break a sweat, they don't challenge themselves in any way, and then they go home because they've actually ticked the box that they set for themselves. So one thing that I used to do when I was still fitness coaching, and something that I do now, is I say to people, be entirely specific about everything that you're going to do within the remit of that particular goal. So if you're going to go to the gym, don't just say, I'm going to go to the gym after work. Say, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to fucking put myself through it. I'm going to train so hard that when I leave, I know I've trained.